Hello and welcome to In 20. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications if you're watching us on YouTube. Do follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. And if you do, you'll spend the next 20 minutes talking to a couple of my friends. Today, it is Paul Parker. Paul, I hope you are safe and sound with your family. How are things over there back in England?
For me, everything's fine. Things seem to be easing off a little bit. There's a few little issues going on, but as long as you don't read too much into the news, then you'll be fine, really, because things are being hyped up a little bit, but everything's running smoothly in this household.
Well put, Paul. Well put, because you're right. There are people who are jumping the gun, but there are also people who are trying to express themselves, fight for equality. You've had the likes of Tyrone Mings, Rio Ferdinand, take to the streets, join in the protest to fight for the rights for everybody out there. And you've also had the likes of Raheem Sterling, who has come out and said that people like Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard have gotten jobs because basically, they're white. And if you were a black player and you were trying to do something like similar to them, if you wanted to be a manager, it's a lot more harder. Is there any truth to that?
I think we have to say yes. There's no disguising that, but it's been going on for a lot of years now. But things are getting better. Things are, if I could go more than 100%, but the maths don't help me. I would say 100. It's 100% better from when I was Raheem Sterling's age, and even better from when I was younger than him. To be honest, really, Roshan, it has things are definitely moving on. The problem is in today's world is the people of today they want it all now. They're not willing to wait. They're not going to be patient. And the problem is that life is about being patient because you have to work hard. You have to put something in to get anything back, and there isn't enough who really want to do that. They want it given to them now. And as far as I'm concerned, you have to earn the right and earn the respect, and then you can maybe go get in there. And yes, colour, creed, race, religion is always going to, all those things are always going to pop up somewhere along. It's not going to change. When I'm 6 foot under, it's still going to be going on, but it will still be better than what it is now.
How different is it from your playing days or when you were a young man? I remember you shared a lot of stories with me. I know you're a really private person when it comes to about your life. But when this all kicked off, I remember this one story you told me when I think you were a Fulham player. You were going to go take in a throw-in and something happened. If you don't mind, could you share that story with us?
Yeah, I was about an 18-year-old kid and started playing first-team football when I was 17 and went and played a team called Barnsley, which is in South Yorkshire. And I just went to pick the ball up to take a throw-in. And I was going to say gentleman, but he definitely wasn't a gentleman. But he virtually told me how much he hated me. And he said all what he saw of me, all the negative things about me. And I virtually just said to him, "You got your son next to you." Then he told me in language I can't use why his son was going to be no different to what he is about people with my skin colour. And it was incredible. I just picked the ball up, looked at him, looked at the child, and I just hope now for that child has made his own mind up in life. Really, that's what it boils down to, Roshan. The obvious thing, which is blatantly obvious, which needs to be done, it's about the education of children. It's about how we educate them, how parents allow them to make their own mind up in what they do in life. You point them in a direction and you let them carry on. And that's what the problem is. That's why we end up with, maybe we call them racists out there. Difficult to pin it 100% on somebody because it's not tattooed on people's heads. Yep. But that's where it comes from. It's the parents who integrate that into their children, and they mostly may not mean it, but it's what they say in front of their children. Because if you swear in front of your children, your child will go out and he'll believe he can do that because his parents does it. So you have to look at yourself as a parent, and I judge myself on what my kids are about. And when people come and tell me my kids have been wonderfully behaved, I may be one of the proudest dads around.
That is so much, that's so much to take in as a person who's been through so much. You didn't, I mean, could you have gone to somebody back then and said, listen, this guy basically called me black and used other words, to describe me. Wait, how did you deal with that situation when it happened to you?
Roshan, I could have gone to everybody. Would they have cared? If I'd have gone to 10 people, maybe one person would have cared, and that person would have shrugged his shoulder at me and said, Paul, there's nothing I can really do, because he knows himself. If he went to the next level, then that could affect his job, which will affect his family, could have affect his career. There was nowhere to go. There is places to go now. The problem is that there's lots of places you can go and talk about things, but people expect when they go and talk to them that things have got to happen straight away. That is the problem. It's like anything. If you all of a sudden you want an extension in your house, it can't be done in that day. As much as you want it in that day, you've got to put a foundation in first, and then you've got to then build on top of the foundation. People don't want to put a foundation in. They virtually want to put a tent up straight away and say, we'll go from there. We want it now. And it's not right. A lot of people would crucify me for saying things like that, but I'm just saying it as I feel, and I just see the way people are and what they're trying to do, and talking about things still helps. It's not going to guarantee anything, and it's not going to get it done yesterday. But you have to talk. You can't keep going to press and keep saying why this and demanding that. There's still ways you can go, better ways, I should say.
Okay, I'm not going to try and throw you under the bus, Paul, but I'm just going to be devil's advocate,
as you always used to do.
All right, I did ask you, questions that got you into trouble when on live TV before. I do apologize. I love you. I can't believe you're still my friend. I hope you're still my friend. But
always will be.
The point I'm trying to bring about is, okay, fine, fair enough. I know where you're coming from. You've always said that to me, Roshan. If you had a problem, when I had problems with work, when I came to you, I asked you for advice. You said, work hard, get it done, and prove people wrong. But in the case of like Raheem Sterling, or like I've mentioned, Tyrone Mings, who's taken to Instagram, social media, said, I am here to put a stop to this. Don't you think it might help educate people, or it might help push this topic that has not been addressed to people that have to talk about it, i.e. the black managers or the lack of it in the modern game?
Yeah, it's definitely up there with any agenda, really, and all agendas in all industries. You have to remember, football is not the only industry in the world. There's industries where a lot of black, Asian, Chinese, Indian, whatever we want to say, have gone, and they've mostly been in this position themselves, and they've had nowhere to go, because they're mostly of my age, they had nowhere to go. Now they're looking at things now, and maybe they can see little bits where things have improved. And if they could be maybe that little bit honest, they'll come out and say that things are definitely a lot easier now. But I still think that going there and shouting, you can't just demand that someone becomes a black manager in the Premier League. That person has to go into that job, and he must know in his own heart that he's got that job for the right reasons, because he's good enough to go and start that job. There's no way that man should ever go into that job and know that he's only got it because he's there as a tick in the box. If anybody's doing that, then they've got it all wrong, got their ethics wrong. If they want to go into something, and accept that everyone around them, and i.e. the players and everyone involved, knows he's got that job as a tick in the box, because from that moment he hasn't got the respect of the people around him. If you haven't got the respect, and I can only talk about football, of the players and the coaching staff who are going to be working for you, you've got no chance in doing that job. So you can't go and demand. What you can ask for is someone can throw their credentials in and they match someone exactly the same. You want the opportunity. You believe you deserve the opportunity to sit in front of someone as they do and tell them why you can make their team better than whoever else wants this job. You can improve that. You can improve that. That's the bits that I believe should be talking about, not demanding because he's played 50, 60 games for England and done this and done that he should have a job.
Yep.
And people, you can keep throwing in Frank Lampard. Steven Gerrard done an apprenticeship working with a youth team at Liverpool. Glasgow Rangers come in for him. They saw somebody, a big name, who could give them the profile, what they're looking for
Yep.
as a massive club, a massive worldwide club. Forget about the standards we keep talking about, Glasgow Rangers. They're a worldwide club. They wanted a big name manager, someone who was hungry, and someone they saw could raise their profile, because marketing's important, as you know, Roshan, about that. So that's what they went and done. That's what they went and done. So that's how you should look at it. You can be green with everything, you can demand, but you can't be forcing people to give people jobs because you feel as if they should have it. You know, it's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. But I know myself that when I played football, I got told by people around me, if it wasn't black people, it was white people who I grew up with, because I was brought up in a white area. Paul, whatever you do, you have to be better than the white person. You have to be a better player. So if there was a fullback or a defender who was out there and was better than me, I felt I'm a load better than him, I had to go and prove to the people that I was better. Because if it was 50-50, I wouldn't have fancied my chances. One maybe because of the colour of skin, the other one because of the height. But that's the kind of world I was brought up into. And to be honest, it's made me tougher. It's mentally tougher, definitely. And I honestly believe it's made me a better person because of that. And that's why I feel lucky that where I live, I'm lucky that the way I was able to bring my kids up, the way my grandchildren are, everything about it is because of what I've learned as I've gone along, because the best education in the world is life. It's the one that's there in front of you, the one that will not cost you a penny. It's one there in front of you, and how much you get out of it is only down to one person. That's you as an individual, and that's what I learned. The problem is, the media are going to Raheem Sterling's, they're going to Rio Ferdinand's, they're going to not Mings, because he's not a prominent black player as such. But those two are just named there, Sol Campbell. They're going to those people because they know they're quite prominent within the black communities, because they're big names and modern day names in football. And the media are using them to stir things up, to get things going. And that's what I believe. Could be seen negativity. And I'm looking on the other side of it, and that's what they're doing. Raheem Sterling should be talking about winning Champions League, Premier Leagues, and being involved in Euros and World Cups for his country. Should not be talking. I should come to him and say, he should just talk to him on a peripheral, but then change the subject to talking about his career at Manchester City. I'm sure Manchester City fans want him talking positive and talking about what he wants to achieve for their club, not talk about people who should be managers. He should be more concerned about him being a player and making himself maybe the best black player that has ever played for England. Take over the mantle maybe from John Barnes. That kind of scenario should be looking at.
Paul, with what you've just said, I can promise you, especially how the media works back in your neck of the woods, they're going to try and make you out to be the person that is not fighting for the cause. It's a guy who's just a stumbling block, or even better, they won't pick this up because you're not going to sell newspapers. You're not going to sell views or likes. I mean, for my show, I hope it does go up. But that's the reality of things. People don't want to talk to the likes of you because you are not going to, stir anything up for the wrong reasons.
No, that's exactly right. They want people fighting for the cause, and there is a lot of good people out there who understand it and fully understand it. They know there's racism in all industries. They absolutely know that. They know that it's going to take a long, long time for things to change, but things do change. But shouting and banging at doors, as we know, doesn't do anything. Going around and think, when you look what's going on, why do our police deserve for people to be throwing stuff at them and trying to hit them? Why has that suddenly come about with what's been going on and the terrorist threats that we've had here? Everyone's couldn't thank the police enough for what they've done, but we've kind of gone in that direction because I think a lot of people believe that's going to make a difference. It definitely will make a difference, but all for the wrong reason. Because the more you keep fighting, it's amazing how resilient people get and more stubborn they get. If they get people who won't really relate to actually the way things are, that things take time. Things are going to be talked about. There's two high-profile bodies here involved in football. And there's one that show racism and the red card and kick it out. And they're working towards things, trying their best to do things. And you've got to give them the opportunity to keep working at things, not people jumping on their own bandwagon, trying to sell themselves. The moment something comes up, they want to get on soapboxes and shout and scream to get as many followers as possible. That's what life is about, to get people to follow you in because they like you for the moment. And you think, oh, they love you. I'll tell you what, you've got to remember, as quick as they come to you, they can absolutely bin you. That's the one thing. Good friends don't bin you, and they only come just about there if you're lucky. Not having 20, 30,000 people following you or whatever you want. Those people are just there. The moment you say something wrong, they unfollow you. You have to remember, life is more than social media. Put that to bed and look at things as they are real. The things that have been there set in stone for years, communication, people being in the same room and talking, not tapping into a phone.
Wow. I'm speechless. That was unbelievable, Paul. I mean, we're running out of time, and I would love for you to come back on the show. But before I go, you did mention one thing, and this is my last question to you. You mentioned that Raheem Sterling, if he focuses on his game, he can be better than John Barnes. How far, is he from achieving that for you?
He's still got a long way to go, because John Barnes was fantastic for Watford. He was magnificent. There must have been a couple of years when he was maybe the best player in Europe. So he's got all that to go through. Consistency is the key that makes you become a great player. He needs to do that. But as far as I'm concerned, when you look at things, and I'm sure his manager's not impressed, there's too much off the field. There's too much talk off the field about what's going on. He had that problem initially, and the press are looking for him. Now the press are trying to put him as a front, as this person who talks on behalf of black people in relations to what's happening. And I think he should turn around and he should be seen to all people as a fantastic footballer for his club and for his country, the country he's playing for, which is England. For me, that's the key. That's where his greatest strength is going to be, and where he can actually be remembered for a lifetime, rather than the path he's trying to do both at the moment. He can't do both because it builds resentment. And I don't mean I don't mean the nasty side and the racist side of it. I mean resentment, because people are looking at him and kind of going, yes, but he looks at himself and he's had a good life. He's had a very good life, earning incredible money. That's the bit you should remember. And that's the bit he's got over above any black player. Me, John Barnes, we all earn good money, but not the money they're earning now. And sometimes people would look at that and be a little bit resentful that he's shouting out about this and about that, but he's not really looking at himself. He should look at himself and say, yep, okay, maybe I'm going to take my foot off the gas and I'm just going to let this travel. I'm going to step away from the media and only talk about football. That is, for me, is key to Raheem Sterling, or anyone out there. We talk about Rio Ferdinand, we're talking them all out there, is you can demand and but there's a lot I demand, but unfortunately people ain't giving me what I asked for straight away. Maybe I have to go and earn it. I think that's the way I was always taught. If you can't earn enough for it, you can't have it.
Well said, Paul. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope, like I said, you could join us sooner or later for another edition of In20.
If you ask me, I'll be there for you.
Thank you, Paul. It's been, like I mentioned, a real joy to talk to you, with someone with so much sense, talking about an issue that could, change how the world, operates, how we live in this world. Thank you very much, my friend. I shall talk to you very soon. And don't forget, if you are watching us, thank you so much. Do subscribe, turn on the notifications, and follow us on our Instagram, Twitter, and our Facebook page. Till the next time, take care.